Isn't that nice? Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Don Hammond's Arlington Weekly News. I'm Craig Nolan. Thanks for joining us.
And I'm Daniel Pineda.
And my name's Adele Kuo.
And here we go with another show, our last in September, the first of the Burr months for 2019. And we thank you for being out there in TV land. If you're out there somewhere watching us, thanks for joining us. Our usual lineup of suspects here tonight on the rundown sheet, news and community bulletin board. And in case you may have noticed, Adele is back for another installment of
It's Easy Being Green.
Indeed it is. Thanks for being here,
Thank
Adele.
you, Adele.
You're a little under the weather tonight, but what a trooper. She's here anyway. CBB, as I mentioned, a roll-in from our theater reviewer, Denise, and her thoughts on Henry the Fourth. The I before the V, that's a 4, right? Our News for Seniors segment, and then a roll-in and our medical reporter, Michelle Katz, and her guest, and that's our show. But before we begin, here's some social media information. Take two. Information from Senior Pineda.
Well, that's right, Craig. You can watch the Arlington Weekly News on our very own YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Arlington Weekly News and the number 1. Also, facebook.com/Arlington Weekly News. And we can't forget the radio, right, Craig?
Also on the radio at WERA 96.7 LPFM. The audio from our little show here shows up on the radio. Thanks for listening. All right, here we go. The first of our news items. Well, Arlington County recently put up signage for the newly renamed Boeing Fields at Longbridge Park, and we're quoting there. County Board Chair Christian Dorsey, Take Two, Dorsey spoke at the event. There were many online comments, but none of them referenced this piece of history. Boeing was originally founded in 1916 by William Edward Boeing, an aviation pioneer. Between 1935 and 1944, the same William Boeing, along with his wife Bertha, set aside a large tract of land near Seattle for a subdivision. The Boeings placed covenants forbidding properties from being, and we're quoting now, sold, conveyed, rented, or leased in whole to any person not of the white or Caucasian race, end quote. Well, in Arlington, where roads and high schools are being renamed on a regular basis here, the choice name of Boeing is a little interesting. It might have something to do with the fact that Boeing's financial donation was significant. Daniel.
Well, Craig, on to our second news story for tonight. Arlington County's newsroom issued a press release advising residents that September is National Preparedness Month. The release included 7 steps that residents could take right now to be prepared, not scared the next time an emergency hits. While this is certainly a commendable message, it must be pointed out that the release was dated September the 13th. That's nearly 2 weeks into National Preparedness Month. This is somewhat late notice as far as preparedness is concerned.
And Daniel, also in our news items, well, the county board has passed a community energy plan with goals to be met at various points over the next 30 years. The goals include 100% renewable energy in government operations by 2025, 100% renewable energy in community operations by 2035, a carbon neutral Arlington by 2050. Residents can help by removing their homes, take 2, renovating their homes using the Greenhouse Choice Program, installing a solar or electric vehicle charger, checking out a themed take 2 thermal camera and LED box of light bulbs, and by joining Arlington's email newsletter. So there's some tips for you Arlington homeowners to become a bit more environmentally conscious. Daniel.
Well, Craig, in contrast, the county board reportedly approved a mixed-use redevelopment plan for the Westmont Shopping Center. The plan does not include any on-site renewable energy. The plan's lead score is unknown, and the plan includes only market-rate housing with no affordable workforce housing for employees of the center. An underground parking garage will accommodate a total of 343 vehicles, including 60 spaces for employees. The addition of 250 apartments will also increase the demand on Arlington's water supply.
All right, that's it for our news items, and Adele is here for another installment of her EBG segment. Are you ready? Should we do it again?
do it.
Let's try it.
Here's Adele for another installment of It's Easy Being Green.
Yeah.
Thanks again
Here's
for such
Adele.
a wonderful warm
Your
welcome. Welcome back during the ragweed season, I think. It's Easy Being Green in Arlington. My name is Adele Kuo, and our mascot, Joe Tree Frog, joins us for the great debate, vanilla or chocolate. Without pollinators, many of us would not even be able to enjoy either vanilla or chocolate. And vanilla is anything but plain and boring. Vanilla is the second most expensive spice on the planet, just behind saffron, with prices for natural vanilla hovering around $300 per pound. Vanilla comes from an exotic orchid, the Vanilla planifolia vine, that grows up the trees in Mexico and Guatemala. A unique bee that is nearly extinct is the only bee on Earth that is capable of pollinating a vanilla orchid. If the Melipona bee becomes extinct, vanilla orchids that grow in the wild may also become extinct. Vanilla orchids cannot self-pollinate. The pollen on a vanilla orchid is highly inaccessible to most pollinating insects, so honeybees cannot access vanilla orchid pollen. The Melipona bee evolved with the vanilla orchid to find its pollen and carry it to other vanilla flowers for fertilization. Today, vanilla beans are on life support because the vast majority of the world's vanilla beans are grown through very tricky and laborious hand pollination on vanilla plantations all around the world. Vanilla requires skill to grow and an absolute sixth sense as to when the orchids will bloom, and they only bloom one day per year, and they're hand pollinated the same day the flower opens. Every American consumes about 5.4 grams of vanilla annually. That's just a little over 2 vanilla beans every year. That may not sound like a lot, but it adds up to over 638 million beans consumed in the United States every year. The next time you crave vanilla, remember, it comes from this beautiful orchid vine that relies on hand pollination of every flower because the only bee on Earth that is capable of pollinating this vanilla orchid is nearly extinct and only found in Mexico. And the part that is used is the pod, which is referred to as the vanilla bean, which contains thousands of tiny black seeds. Scraping the beans yields a potent vanilla flavor, and the black specks will fully flavor whatever you're baking. So if you prefer chocolate over vanilla, stay tuned to discover the itty-bitty little fly, no bigger than the head of a pin, that is responsible for the world's supply of chocolate. And remember, it's easy being green.
Chocolate.
Who knew vanilla was so delicate?
Yeah.
And those pollinators, we'd be in trouble without the pollinators for a lot of what we eat. Absolutely. Thanks, Adele.
Thank you, Adele.
She's having tea. All right, here we go. As promised now, moving right along. Here's our CBB Community Bulletin Board file. Well, in honor of Hispanic Heritage Month, Arlington is holding a Latino Americano festival featuring authentic Latino food, music vendors, and more. This is a great way to have fun and experience the culture. All right, this is a free event. Can't beat that. Taking place on Friday, October 4, from 5 to 9 in the p.m. portion of the day at Arlington Mill Community Center. They're at 909 South Dinwiddie Street. Check it out. Daniel.
Check it out. It's free. Well, on to our next CBB story for tonight. Ronald Young Jr., head of Oh It's Big Ron Studios, will be hosting a live performance and recording of his podcast, Time Well Spent. That's in Alexandria. The performance will include comedy, advice, discussions on important topics, and a question and answer session. There will be free popcorn and cake, as well as merchandise on sale. This all happens on Friday, that's October the 4th, from 7 to 10 p.m. at the Torpedo Factory Arts Center. That's located at 105 North Union Street in Alexandria, Virginia. You can purchase tickets by searching for Time Well Spent Live. That's on www.eventbrite.com.
All right, Daniel. Also in our CBB file, Eco Action Arlington and Phoenix Bikes are working together to bring us the 8th annual Arlington Fun Ride. This scenic bike ride through the nature trails of Arlington's Loop features multiple courses ranging from 4 miles to 16 miles to allow flexibility in your ride. Along the way, there'll be rest stops featuring games and events where you can win tickets to a raffle. There's no set start time, but make sure you start early enough so that you don't miss the raffle at the end. This event is coming up on Saturday, October 5, from 8 a.m. to 12 noon at Arlington Mill Community Center. They're at 909 South Dinwiddie Street. For more information, you can register online at www.bikereg.com/AFR 2019. Daniel.
Well, Arlington's annual dog show, Dogtober Day, is, upon us once again. Canines from all over the country will be competing for titles such as Best Kisser, Best Tail Wagger, Cutest Costume, and much more. Think your furry best friend has what it takes to win? Well, then bring them along and enter them in the contest. Not the competing type? Well, there will be also vendors set up and fun games you can enjoy with your pooch. This all happens on Saturday, October the 5th from 12 to 5 p.m. That's at the Lacey Woods Park, located at 1200 North George Mason Drive. And as always, we want to thank our own Jordan Kuharski for this week's CBB Stories. Thank you so much, Jordan, for all your hard work and certainly all of your loyalty and dedication.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Jordan. All right, news for seniors coming up. Don't go away right after we hear from Denise and her thoughts on Henry IV. Here's Denise.
Folger Theater opens its season with Shakespeare's Henry IV, Part 1, directed by Rosa Yoshi of Seattle, who is making her DC directorial debut with this production. This is a coming-of-age play of Prince Hal, who rebels from his father, King Henry IV, by wasting away his days in bawdy taverns of Eastcheap in the company of Sir John Falstaff, his surrogate father. He redeems himself when civil discord threatens his father's rule. Hal is called into battle, saves his father's life, and kills his enemy, Hotspur. This erases his reputation of a squandered youth and sets him on the path of becoming King Henry V. Of course, Falstaff may be William Shakespeare's most celebrated comic character, and is a role constantly sought out by the most prominent actors in any theatrical group. Folger's Falstaff is played by Ed Giro, who has won 4 Helen Hayes Awards. It's a case of a tour de force actor playing a larger-than-life character. His depiction of the frolicking Falstaff would be reason enough to see this production, but several other actors contribute to the richness of this cast. Avery Whitted is the emerging Prince Hal, who convincingly combines duty with his questionable life experiences. Peter Crook is stoic as King Henry IV, and Tyler Fauntleroy is properly fiery as Hotspur. Kate Eastwood Norris as Mistress Quickly is a savvy innkeeper who keeps Falstaff's boisterous group in check. Sarah Ryan Clement, the scenic designer, is responsible for the industrial look of the play's set and the central set piece, the King's Throne, that morphs into a bed or table as needed. Jesse Belsky's lighting design includes colorful neon tubes that change color and set the mood when action on stage switches from the raucous behavior of Falstaff's group to a more somber battle scene. Alice Gosti, the movement director and choreographer, gives the battle scenes a look reminiscent of Maori war dances, while Jonathan Topo, the fight choreographer, designed the numerous exciting sword fights. Palmer Hefferen's original music and sound design gives the production its robust sound. These elements are often treated subtly in a play. In Henry IV, they are rich and vigorous. Henry IV, Part 1 continues at Folger Theater through October 13th. Don't hesitate to join this unrestrained merriment offered by Falstaff and his festive revelers. I'm Denise Pringle. Now back to the news desk.
I think she gave it good reviews. Thanks, Denise.
Yeah, thank you, Denise.
And her review of Henry IV at Folger,
Yes.
I think. Thank you. Just checking. Okay, here we go. Thanks, Denise. Here we go. As promised now, our News for Seniors segment. News for Seniors glasses in place. All right, Medicare open enrollment for Part D prescription drug plans and Part C Medicare Advantage plans runs October 5 through December 7. Medicare plan enrollees can make changes every year to their costs and lists of drugs covered. A representative from the Virginia Insurance Counseling and Assistance Program, also known as VICAP, will be providing information on how to effectively use the Medicare Pathfinder and other information. That's coming up on Thursday, October 3rd at 10 in the morning at Walter Reed and Community Center, Senior and Community Center, at 2909 16th Street South. For more information and to register, give them a call at 703-228-0955. Daniel.
And Craig, on to our next senior story for tonight. Safe and reliable transportation is a key aspect for maintaining independence for seniors. The basics of using modern technology include taking advantage of ride-sharing services to get important appointments, social engagements, or just running options. These basics will be explained by Brett Sanders of Assisting Hands Home Care. That all takes place on Thursday, October the 3rd at 11:30 a.m. at Lee Community and Senior Center. That's located at 5722 Lee Highway. Call to register at 703-228-0555.
All right, Daniel, also in our News for Seniors file, well, macular degeneration is the leading cause of vision loss and is especially common among older adults. Dr. Dodge Perry, Doctor of Ophthalmology from Nova Vision Center, will present the latest updates on this disease and other age-related changes. That is coming up on Friday, October 4 at 11 in the a.m. at Walter Reed Community and Senior Center. They're at 2909 16th Street South. To register and find out more about it, give them a call at the number on your screen, 703-228-0955. Daniel.
Well, Craig, recently a Poet Society has begun for the purpose of discussing selected poems and an opportunity to develop original works. The group will meet monthly at noon. That's at the Lee Community and Senior Center located at 5722 Lee Highway. For more information and to register, give them a call at 703-228-0555.
And finally, Daniel, in our News for Seniors file, Arlington County's 55-plus travel program is going to be quite active the first week in October. Events will include a trip to the National Museum of African American History and Culture, also a trip to the 75th annual, that is, Waterford Fair in Waterford, Virginia. They're also going to the Kennedy Center for a matinee performance of Cats, and the 55th annual Apple Harvest Festival in Biglerville, Pennsylvania. Costs run from $6 to $131. For more information and a list of all the tips that you can, all the trips that you can take with the seniors, give them a call at 703, I got it here somewhere, 703-228-4748.
Fun times.
Fun times. And as always, thanks to Judy Masabny of OSAP, Office of Senior Adult Programs, for helping us out and sending us these announcements. We appreciate it. Thanks, Judy. All right, we'll be back with bye-bye and sign-off right after Michelle Katz and her guest. Here's Michelle.
Hi, I'm Michelle Katz, and today my guest is Dr. DiMattina, who is the founder and medical director of Dominion
Fertility in
Yes.
Arlington, Virginia. Yes.
Right here in our backyard.
Yes, for 32 years now.
And when did you start this? Was it?
Start Dominion
Fertility.
1987. So we're now in our 33rd year of operation. Thousands and thousands of babies now.
Making
Many
thousands of babies.
We have made thousands and thousands of babies. Yes.
And still continuing. So now, would you say that you've started that whole natural cycle IVF? Like, what is it, first of all?
Well, I have a passion for what I do, and natural cycle IVF, Dominion popularized it in the United States. Natural cycle IVF produced the world's first IVF baby in 1978. And decades of research went into that until they were finally successful when Louise Brown was born in 1978 through using natural cycle IVF. But in those days, we really didn't know what we were doing compared to now. So natural cycle IVF lost favor, and IVF in the United States started in 1982, and I've been doing it since 1984. So in 1982, here in the United States, we decided to use fertility drugs, as they're called. They're actually natural hormones, to stimulate ovaries to get lots of eggs and produce lots of embryos, and then we would put lots of embryos into women, hoping one of them would stick. Because in natural cycle IVF, the female produces one egg, and that's it. And in those days, we weren't very good at what we did. So we needed lots of eggs, lots of embryos, and we'd transfer them. Hopefully you get a pregnancy. You can't put lots of embryos into a woman, because if you do, you end up with an octomom, which is a disaster. Nobody wants 8 children at one time. So now the standard is we can achieve very strong live birth rates by putting in one embryo, and that's now the standard. It's been that way for many years. So it's gotten much better.
So natural cycle is just what it is. It's natural. You're doing one shot rather than all these different shots, and you're putting in all these drugs in you in the regular IVF cycle versus the natural IVF cycle.
Right.
Can you go into more detail? What is the main difference between the two? Because we have viewers that are used to the traditional IVF per se.
So traditional IVF is also called stimulated IVF, where, like you say, you use fertility hormones or natural hormones to stimulate the ovaries to produce many eggs. And that's still a great treatment. In fact, they're both good treatments. Natural cycle IVF, on the other hand, there are no stimulation drugs. And that's nice, because those stimulation drugs are expensive, and nobody likes to take shots, and nobody likes to have their ovaries stimulated. But it goes very well. Natural cycle IVF, we just simply monitor the growth of the single egg or follicle, which is the sac that contains the egg. And once it gets to a certain size and the hormones reach a certain level, we then collect the egg in the office. There's no hospitalization, there's no general anesthesia, there's no knives, no scalpels. Just simply place a needle into the ovary. She's sedated. It's a twilight, very civilized sedation for about 5 minutes. Collect the egg, then fertilize it, and then 3 or 5 days later we put the embryo back into her, and hopefully she's pregnant 2 weeks later. It's very simple. But most of the IVF in the United States is stimulated IVF, because, you know, if a female has lots of eggs in her ovaries, then we have lots of eggs, lots of embryos, and now we can test those embryos to make sure they're genetically normal. People like that. Why? Because they want to know that the baby's going to be a healthy baby, a genetically normal baby, and we can target the embryos, which ones are normal, and then selectively put one in and get pregnancy rates that are way over 50%, live birth rates that are way over 50%. So you get higher pregnancy rates. By knowing that the embryo is genetically normal, the miscarriage rate goes down, and it's sort of like doing an amniocentesis on the baby before you put it in the uterus versus after the fact, when you find out after the baby's in you.
So who is quickly a candidate for natural cycle IVF?
Natural cycle IVF, virtually anyone who has infertility, who has somewhat regular menstrual cycles, they're a candidate. If they have a normal uterus and they're producing an egg every month or roughly every month, then they're a candidate. Who do we select for natural cycle IVF as compared to stimulated IVF? That depends. Again, if a person has lots of eggs, yeah, as a physician, it's easier for me when I have lots of eggs, lots of embryos, and I can find the ones that are perfect and put them back in. Natural cycle IVF, we're going after one egg. So it's a little bit more difficult. Maybe she has to do this 2, 3, 4 times before we get the one egg, one good embryo. But it's simpler. And so if a person doesn't have the eggs and they're not a good candidate for the fertility drugs, they're not going to produce many eggs, then why spend all that money and take all those shots and go through that? It's very expensive. Then go through a simpler, more affordable treatment such as natural cycle IVF. Or if she has failed all these stimulated IVFs, she might say, can I try the natural cycle IVF? And Dominion Fertility produced an IVF baby in the oldest female, to our knowledge, in the Washington, D.C. area. She delivered with her own biological egg and embryo. She was almost 49 years of age. I put the embryo in her when she was 48, first time, and she had a baby, normal, healthy baby.
So cost, real fast, what is the difference in cost?
Natural cycle IVF is about 20 to 25% of the cost of a stimulated IVF. Stimulated IVFs are expensive. The drugs alone can cost anywhere from $6,000 to $10,000. Then the treatment, the genetic testing, everything, it could easily cost $15,000 to $20,000. Natural cycle IVF, more $5,000 to $6,000.
Now, you also have support groups going on, and I think you have a regular Facebook, so if anybody wants to see this Facebook Live, they can actually ask you questions there.
Yes, they can, or our website is loaded with information, dominionfertility.com, and we have a support group that is phenomenal. A lot of very intelligent ladies are in that support group. They're concerned. They give great advice to each other. We have nurses and certain others in our practice that monitor it and help weigh in on some of the questioning.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me, Michelle.
Great seeing you, and thank you for joining us.
All right, thanks, Michelle.
Thank you,
Dr.
Michelle.
DiMattina, some very good information there about natural cycle IVF. So we cover all bases here at EWN. And
right.
good luck to all you mothers-to-be out there. Okay, well, we're wrapping up here. Our
Yes.
last show in the first Burr month.
Getting into the fall.
September of
Right.
Yep.
2019. And so we've got a few more Burr months coming up, but holy cow, in the 90s, several days
Yeah,
in the
there were several
90s, I
days.
think, here, and as of this
Kinda
taping,
humid.
they said possibly if we hit 95 or 96 by Thursday or Friday, it may be a record breaker. So we'll see.
Jeez.
That's pretty
So we
warm for September.
would like to see some rain, I
And
think.
some rain
Right.
would it be
Kind of
very
been
helpful.
dry.
I've been watering my brown lawn. So far,
Yeah.
it's not doing much. But we'll see what happens. The birds like it.
Gotta
though,
hose
so
it down, I guess.
That's it. So we're about ready to wrap up and get out of here. Any
Yeah.
final thoughts before we go? Thanks again, Adele. I know
Thank
you're
you,
a little
Adele.
under the
Yeah.
weather, but
Yeah,
thanks
that
for coming.
the
ragweed,
weather,
man.
Helping us out here tonight with another EBG segment. And thanks to all of you out there for watching. If you're out there next week, we'll be here and we'll try it all again. Have a safe week. Bye-bye.